A two-day event entitled Taking Action to Fight Child Poverty and to Promote Child Wellbeing is the only EU presidency event that's focused on children. Now, as part of the conference, UNICEF today launched a new report card on child wellbeing in rich countries. It found that Ireland is the 10th best place in the world to be a child. It warned, though, that childhood must be protected during economic downturn. This afternoon, conference organisers, this is the Children's Rights Alliance, UNICEF, Eurochild and the European Anti-Poverty Network, held a seminar discussing child poverty in Ireland and within the European Union. And Della Kilroy now reports.
Today, UNICEF Ireland had the pleasure to do the global launch of UNICEF's report on child wellbeing in rich and developed countries across the OECD. The Minister for Children, Frances Fitzgerald, was on hand to launch the report with us and to hear firsthand some of the good outcomes and the not so good outcomes from the report.
This is Peter Power, Executive Director of UNICEF Ireland. This morning, UNICEF launched Report Card 11, examining child wellbeing in rich countries.
In order to calculate children's well-being across rich countries, UNICEF looked at 5 main factors: the financial and material well-being of the child and the household, their own health, their own well-being such as bullying, eating, exercise and so forth, and finally their environment. And overall, when all the factors were taken into account, Ireland came 10th out of 28 in terms of being a good country to bring up children in.
So what were the main findings?
We're first out of 28 in terms of the amount of exercise we take. A lot more Irish people go to school and remain in school than any other country. We're actually third in that table. Unfortunately, we fall down on some other aspects. Bullying in schools, for example. We are down the league table in that. If children fall into poverty in Ireland, they tend to fall into quite serious poverty. So the poverty gap is bigger in Ireland than in other countries. But it's when you average out all of these different factors, we find that child wellbeing in Ireland is in a good place. It's 10th. It could be a lot better. It certainly could be a lot worse. So there's some good news and certainly some lessons and recommendations from the report.
The two-day event on child poverty is being held as a part of the Irish presidency of the EU and is being co-hosted by the Irish Children's Rights Alliance. Maria Corbett is their acting chief executive.
Yeah, so this afternoon is part of a two-day event on child poverty, and the focus of the event is looking at child poverty across Europe and what we as civil society actors can do at a national level to end child poverty. So the event today is speakers from a range of different countries, including Ireland and also from the European Commission.
Ireland was ranked this morning 10th best place in the world to be a child, but the Children's Rights Alliance recently gave the government an F grade in relation to child poverty here.
We are concerned that, child poverty is very much a reality in Ireland. Listeners will know it's that the budget 2013 was a very difficult budget for children and families, and the cumulative effect of budgets over the last 5 or 6 years are really hitting home now with families.
What are the aims of this event today?
The first aim is to raise awareness that we have child poverty in Ireland, that child poverty is a real issue across Europe. 1 in 4 children at risk of poverty or experiencing poverty across Europe. So for us to work with our peers across Europe to figure out how best we can end child poverty, because there's many strategies that can be employed, and to talk about best practice and what we can do.
The seminar held in Dublin this afternoon is focusing on how best to advocate for governments to take action on child poverty. Jana Hainsworth is Secretary General of Eurochild, a key contributor to the seminar discussion.
So here in Dublin, we're hosted by the Irish Presidency, and it's a great opportunity for us to prioritise investment in children. The European Commission launched last month the Investing in Children recommendation. It's really helpful policy guidance for the European Union member states. The challenge for us is, what difference is it going to make? What we're seeing across the European Union is that actually many policies that are being implemented as a result of the austerity measures and the economic crisis are direct contradictions. They're actually pulling resources from families and children. The EU needs to be stronger in holding the member states accountable to their performance at a social level.
Among other participants in the panel discussion this afternoon is Paul Gannell. He's Policy Officer with the European Anti-Poverty Network in Ireland.
Well, currently one of the key issues, I suppose, is that the crisis itself is having a big impact on the levels of child poverty. So not only in Ireland but across the EU, child poverty levels are growing. So it's important in terms of the decisions that are being made that the governments and the EU as a whole really look at the issue of the impact.
How does Ireland compare in terms of child poverty compared to other European countries?
I think overall Ireland seems to be faring okay in some ways if you look at just child deprivation, but actually the gap, children falling below the poverty line, is very high. It's one of the highest in the European Union. So overall, in a sense, for average, but I think what's happening to a great extent in Ireland and other countries is that the actual gap is growing. The child poverty levels are growing. So that's the key problem that has to be resolved.
Della Kilroy was reporting for us there now.